And hello YouTube, this is Thomas Judge back once again with another YouTube reading guide series. Today is the 7th of 11 videos I'll be releasing over the next few weeks, each of which will cover a specific DC event. I've created this guide, initially at least, as a byproduct to creating my Superman reading order, which I'm actually releasing interspersed with these videos. To create the Superman guide, I had to read 1,677 comic issues. They comprise every single Superman in continuity appearance from 1991 all the way up until Flashpoint, and that included all the tie-ins and spin-offs that related to various DC events. And from that knowledge, I decided to also make the internet's most detailed reading maps for DC events. Unlike the Superman reading guide, which takes the form of a Google sheet that I've split into 14 tabs, DC events are things where I decide to make maps or visual infographics where that's warranted. Each event gets its own map, so today, Day of Judgment has its own reading map, and these can be viewed for free from my website. This playlist is going to contain every single DC event video in chronological order, taking up to 11 videos in total. If you're interested in the Superman guide as well, but you haven't come across this by watching the Superman playlist, don't worry, that YouTube playlist contains these videos as well. Quick bit of scene setting. I've read every single one of these issues myself personally, so I can personally guarantee that they go where I say they go. I tend to split all my reading into three types after I've read them. We have our essential issues, which I tend to box in green, and I say that those are key issues with essential events or story beats that you need to read to understand what's going on. We then have amber issues, which are related to the event. In other words, they're impacted by the event, but they're not essential or critical. And then we have red token issues, which only have the faintest link to the event, if any link at all. Um, Often all they have is branding on the cover, and that's about it. On that note, I will point out that I use solid lines to indicate when issue has branding and dotted lines to indicate when issue does not have branding. So with no further ado, let's jump into it. Here is the map for my Day of Judgment reading guide. Now, this map contains all 21 issues and it's split into those three groups and then in a recommended reading order. I'm going to zoom in just a second. This software that I'm using allows me to infinitely zoom in and move around and scale it up as much as I want in high resolution. So I'll be doing that throughout the rest of this video. First things first, what is Day of Judgment? Day of Judgment was a 1999 DC universe-wide event written by Jeff Johns and told mainly in the limited series Day of Judgment, which we can see here on the left in the green. It mainly features the Spectre going off on a bit of a rampage, destroying New York City, which happens after he is forcibly bonded to the fallen angel Asmodel by the demon Etrigan. Lots of other stuff happens. I'm not going to go into it. I'm not going to give spoilers, but that's essentially the general thrust of Day of Judgment. I will point out you might think this video is irrelevant simply because there is a unanimous online consensus on the reading order of exactly how to read this, and that's largely because of this page, which is a consistent and explicit reading order that was put in the back of every single issue that was branded with this event. This is the reading order. In fact, let's zoom in. This is the reading order that they give in the back of every single issue. This is wrong. Can confirm. I tried following it myself and I was like, great, this is an event I won't need to do a reading map for. Unfortunately, I found the reading order to be incorrect when I read the issues. And therefore, if we go back to the Day of Judgment map here, all I can do is tell you what I would recommend for my reading guide. If you're not interested in my thoughts, if you'd rather go by the official DC mapping, then skip back a few seconds, freeze frame, write it down, or of course, the written guide for this entire series is available. That said, and that out of the way, I'm going to talk about the way I would recommend reading it. Now, just quickly looking at the map as an overview here, you'll see on the left, we've got all the green essential issues, and I'll talk through those. We've got a fair few related issues, and then we've got some token issues here in red. So I'm going to talk through them all one at a time. Okay, let's start at the top. We have Day of Judgment, issue 1. That then moves us into the next phase, which is a bunch of parallel and kind of simultaneous issues. So let's go through them one at a time. We have Anarchy, issue 7. It's obviously branded, it's related. Then we have Batman Day of Judgment. I know everyone's going to get overexcited. Everyone's going to want to read this. It is related, it's not essential. Please try to sort of restrain yourselves when you're getting that. But it's Batman Day of Judgment. It's not issue 48. It just says 48 pages. It's a one shot, so it's number one, but it's literally one and done. It only exists by itself. So if you are interested or obsessed with Batman, as so many people are, this is a non-branded but explicit one-shot tie-in. So I haven't made it a dotted line around the cover because it's clearly Day of Judgment related. Okay, and then next to that, we have a few more issues I'm just going to touch on here. We have Martian Manhunter issue 12. This is a related issue, non-essential. One thing to point out, as you can see on the cover here, if I just zoom in a bit, Jean-Jean's actually got 4 arms in this issue. This is related to events happening in his ongoing book, but don't worry about that. If you just go into it thinking, dude's a shapeshifter, dude's got 4 arms, you'll be fine. And the next related issue there is here on the side, as we can see it's Young Justice, and it's a Young Justice issue 14. It's a related issue. It's worth noting it makes quite a few references to the event of Supergirl issue 37, but there's no need to read that issue. And then finally, we have a totally token issue, which is Green Lantern number 118. You can see the cover here. It has a very, very brief scuffle in it with the Enchantress. Keep in mind, she's not even on the cover. This is Donna Troy and Jade. But Enchantress is like a blink and you'll miss it cameo in it for a second, so it kind of is meant to be a Day of Judgment tie-in, but it is lazy. Don't worry about that if you have any difficulty tracking it down. Okay, so that's the first issue, Day of Judgment 1, and then some related stuff. We then have the second issue, Day of Judgment 2. And let's have a look at these in terms of other ones that are related and so on. So to start off with, we have Azrael, Agent of the Bat, which is here. I think I mentioned in the last video that the branding for Azrael changes after the DC 1 million event, and here we see that. This is a rare case of dual branding, as it's not only a Day of Judgment branded issue on the side, it's also a No Man's Land branded issue as well, which is interesting. It seems to end on a cliffhanger, but don't worry, it's not actually a cliffhanger. And if you read the next issue of Agent of the Bat, if you read issue 59, it doesn't actually pick up from the cliffhanger anyway. So please don't worry about that. It is, however, related to Day of Judgment. We then have a bunch of token issues, I'm afraid. We have Hourman issue 8, completely token. Impulse issue 54. It has a sort of one panel scene of Zatanna turning up and recruiting Max Mercury, but we don't see Max again, so it's not really relevant. And then there's Stars and Stripe issue 4. Again, a token issue. The very final page is some shoehorned reference to them getting recruited, but it's really not needed, as we'll see them in Day of Judgment issue 3 anyway. Speaking of which, here on the left, Day of Judgment issue 3. This then leads into a bunch of related but definitely non-essential issues. In no particular order, we have Aquaman number 61. Don't worry here, it does reference the Tempest miniseries, but with Aquaman in it, but you don't have to read that. You can read this fine by itself. We also have Superboy issue 68, Supergirl issue 38, and Titans issue 9. They're all related, but none of them are especially important. Okay, this then takes us to Day of Judgment issue 4. So we're seeing issue 4. So what we have here, I'm going to have to change these covers around, right? Well, as mentioned in previous videos, I can actually move these around as and when I wish. So let's just quickly toggle those over. Just while I do this, slightly embarrassingly, if anyone does have any suggestions or to find any errors in these maps, let me know. I can just adjust them live on the fly, which is something I've never been able to do before, but this is why it's worth paying for the extra software that I'm doing for you, the fans. Right, with that out of the way, Day of Judgment issue 4, and after Day of Judgment issue 4, we then have the very final ever issue of Man of Tomorrow. So this is Superman Man of Tomorrow issue 15. It's essential to read this, and it definitely goes between Day of Judgment's issue 4 and 5. After Superman Man of Tomorrow issue 15, we then have Day of Judgment issue 5. Spoiler warning, introducing the new Spectre, Hal Jordan. It's the cover. What can I do? What can I do? And there we have it. That's the entire series. It's worth noting there is an epilogue in this, which is Day of Judgment, Secret Files and Origins. The first story is a key, really important epilogue for this issue, and so I'd strongly recommend reading it just for that. The rest of the issue is, frankly, kind of slightly unrelated vignettes, so not really a big deal. Nothing I would really massively worry about. But yeah, the main story itself, the first story, is a really useful epilogue. And finally, after that, there is a JLA issue. This is JLA 35. It is branded Day of Judgment, as you can see. It's related, but it's essentially a really cool, clever story about. Oh, I don't want to give it away because it'd be a terrible spoiler, but it's a really, really good issue. And is well worth reading as part of the JLA run going on at this time. I believe this is still during the Morrison written JLA era. I think this one shot is written by Demetrius instead, but is part of that whole JLA era of the 90s. Okay, well, there we have it. Day of Judgment. So if I pan all the way out, you can see there the green issues on the side is basically the Day of Judgment miniseries, but with Man of Tomorrow at the exact right point and then with the epilogue. If you are interested in reading the related issues, they're marked in yellow here with an idea of when to read them or when they fit in between one Day of Judgment issue and the next. And of course, if you want the token issues, if you're a masochist or a completionist or basically a type P reader, then they are here as well. I hope that was useful. Next time round, we'll be diving back into Superman if you're on my Superman reading playlist, and we'll otherwise be looking at the next DC event after Day of Judgment. And there we have it. In case you're interested in knowing where these resources are, so the guides, the maps, and so on, they're all available on my website. They're all available for free. You can go into the website, which is nogodsorkings.com, and download the Google Sheet for the Superman reading order, or you can go on the website and look at these reading maps for all the various DC events and a whole bunch of other things I've got on there to your heart's desire. If, however, you are interested in a written version of this guide, then it is available on Amazon. I've recently just self-published it. It is the cheapest possible tier you can get on Amazon. So it's 79 pence UK, 99 cents American, and so on. It's free if you're on Kindle Unlimited, and there is a free sample on the website as well. The reason I put this onto Amazon is kind of a proof of concept. I'm interested to see if people are interested in the written guides, whether or not people want to pick them up. And also, it's a good way for me to bat off all the people that are going to be in the comments asking for a Batman guide. If you want a Batman guide, I don't really particularly have any interest in doing one, but I will do one if this book gets 500 reviews. So if this book gets 500 5-star reviews, then I will start doing a Batman reading guide at some point. I don't think that's going to happen, but there we are. Of course, feel free to support the channel by picking this up. Of course, like, comment, and subscribe. But as always, the best way to support the channel is by picking up one of my other books, which isn't a non-fiction reading guide. It's actually a fictional, completely original superhero story. It's prose, so not a comic or words, but it's about superheroes in just a really interesting kind of post-apocalyptic dystopic idea. The first 4 books of the series are out, and if you want to support, please pick that up. Thanks for watching. Until next time, stay classy.